So this story was told to me by my mother one late night playing poker with the family. I had an aunt and an uncle there who also corroborated the story. Later, my missing aunt also said that it was true, but my youngest uncle remembers nothing of it. So this took place in one of the many houses that they lived in during the late 70s, as my grandmother was a high-functioning alcoholic. My grandfather was also a high-functioning alcoholic, but more of a loner type. Now, strange things started happening around the house, like light bulbs not working, being replaced, and then not working again the next day, but not looking burnt out. My mother was the oldest at 17 during this too, and then my uncle was 15, and my twin aunts were either 11 or 12 at this time. My youngest uncle, who is 4 years older than me, was 1 or 2 when this happened, and he kept waking up screaming a lot, and not on the normal whiny cry of a child, but really wild screaming, drenched in sweat type of thing. And then it began to escalate. There was a basement in the house, and that's where my grandmother made them keep most of their toys, like a playroom kind of, because it was a full-size basement that they didn't truly need to use for basically anything else. Eventually, my aunts and uncles would come home from school and find the room completely strewn about though. Not broken or anything, but just the toys were scattered everywhere. And so they started getting angry at my youngest uncle, thinking that he was trashing it every day. But then they asked him about it, or showed it to him, and he just would deny it. Or how a young toddler would say, just no, no, no. Well, eventually, he stopped going down there altogether, screaming and such when anyone took him down to play. But for a visual, the staircase was against the wall of the living room and not separated by a wall. The basement door is on the wall the staircase comes from, and it's close to the opposite side of the room. One day, my oldest uncle was coming down the stairs when he said that he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. He said that he saw a strange-looking girl standing in front of the open basement door, and immediately thought one of his sisters was messing with him. He said something along the lines of, "What the hell are you doing? Trying to be scary or something?" And turned on the stairs to squarely face her, but as soon as he completed his sentence and was turning, she looked up at him and shot backwards through the basement door, and it slammed shut. He couldn't recall details of her face, but he had a lot of details on how she flew backwards. He said that it was like she just went backwards, shoulders first, facing him without making a single sound and without moving any part of her body. He said that he was scared shitless, ran back upstairs to climb out of a window into the porch roof. He jumped down from there and ran to his friend's house where he told them what happened. He said that they didn't believe him, the parents saying something along the lines of, yeah, if you have trouble at home you can stay and tell us what really happened when you're ready. But this is where the story gets even crazier, because they went to the town library to look through old newspaper reels on that projection machine. I forget its name, but it took 3 of them. One aunt wanted nothing to do with it. A week to find an article. In the 50s, there was a couple that lived there, with a daughter that had some sort of a disease that made her crippled or deformed. And the couple kept her in the basement of the house for her entire life, due to embarrassment, I guess. But no one knew about the little girl's existence until she died in that basement. And they did a story about the mysterious deformed girl found dead. It didn't even say what disease she must have had or anything, but detailed everything else as the couple was in trouble. At first, I had that shocked O face, before sliding back to a sly grin looking around at them saying, you all are just trying to scare me. And well, if I'm being honest, it succeeded and then some, as a week later, my mother took me to the library. She knew exactly where to grab the story and showed it to me. I was legitimately scared, as I felt to confirm my suspicions about the paranormal because I was a scary movie junkie. I just remember my hand shaking as I was rewinding the film with the dial, and to this day I believe that this story is actually true. And my aunts and uncles will all swear to all these events to this day, and not even close to a joking way. Though one aunt, as I said before, merely lets the others talk about it, not wanting anything to do with it, so I don't know. I believe it, and it's a bit of a creepy story. I was visiting my friend in Budapest that was working at a hostel. We ended up going out and drinking pretty heavily and meeting these two girls. We hung out with them through the night and offered to walk them back to their place. When we got there, my friend, who had a girl on lock, was like, I'll come back with you, Andrew. I just kept being like, dude, you've got a girl that wants you to come up to her place and it's a short walk from here to get home. Just stay. He kept saying no, and I jokingly was like, well, you can't leave with me if you can't find me, and just started running away. I'm a pretty stupid drunk, I know that, but it was funny at the time. But anyways, I ran for a few minutes and quickly lost my bearings, had an empty wallet and no phone. I just thought, crap, I'll wander, spot a landmark, and find my way home from there. Hell, I'll sleep on the street if I have to. I was walking for 30 minutes at this point, really, really drunk. A car pulled up and a guy yelled at me in Hungarian. I just replied, sorry man, English only, and I laughed. He was parked and I was chilling, so we talked for a few minutes. He seemed alright and was like, dude, I can take you back to your hostel if you'd like. I said yes to this and I went to hop in the back. And there were two guys back there that I couldn't see through the tinted windows. These guys were both super tatted up and very thug-looking. I was honestly just too drunk to run if they were going to rob me, so I put on a brave face and I got in. I'm sobering up really fast. They start driving and I immediately realize that something is definitely going on. Basically, Budapest was two separate cities on either side of the river, Buda and Pest. We were on the Pest side, with most of the clubs and such, and we almost immediately crossed over, and I knew that I didn't live on that side. So I was kind of like, hey man, my hostel's in Pest. Why are you going into Buda? And they all just laugh and go quiet again. Finally, the driver pipes up and says, hey man, no one knows where you were tonight. What would you do if we tried to beat you up? And they're all laughing. I check my door handle and it's child locked. I kind of feign being sick and roll down my window, slightly leaning out, the whole time they're talking, saying that they could kill me and no one would even know, that I didn't even know where I was. I just remember looking at my feet and being like, if you guys try anything tonight, I know you'll hurt me or maybe even kill me, but I promise that I'll kill one of you with me. I swear on my life that I'll make it happen. And they laughed. We keep getting further out of the city, almost to the point of no buildings. We keep going back and forth with the threats when we hit a red light. Everyone in the car was kind of at ease since they thought that I was too drunk to do anything. I leaned out the window, grabbed the handle from the outside, popped the door open, and I fell backwards onto the pavement, rolled, and just started running. The car was stopped for a second, but I was shouting, so they just peeled away. It was around 4 or 5 a.m. at this point, and I find some guy playing Pokemon Go. This was like when it was peak time, so there were a lot of people out there who looked terrified that this bleeding drunk guy is approaching. I explain my situation though, and they're super sympathetic, but they call me a cab, and I take the cab back to the hostel. All I had was 20 Canadian dollars in my wallet, and I beg the driver to just take it. He does. I get to my room as the sun rises. My friend asked what happened, and apparently I just said that I got kidnapped, sleep, I'll tell you tomorrow, alright? And passed out in my bed. When I was a little girl in primary school, I was really close with a group of boys. We would play fight in breaks or pretend to be dragons, and the group was quite solid. I was friends with a lot of my class in primary, but I wasn't a fan of sitting around and talking like the girls did. My best friend, or one of them, at the time was Tommy. I don't remember too much about him, but we had been friends since year 2. We would play fight, and he would add to ideas for my dragon club. I went to his house once or twice, and he went to mine. He called me thick once because I said in my woke 6-year-old mind that there are no boy colours or girl colours, and I could like green if I wanted and he could pink. It was a pretty normal friendship, but then when I was in my last year, year 6, my parents decided to move countries. On one of my last days, Tommy confesses his feelings for me, but very awkwardly like a little boy would, and I played it off just as awkwardly. I think in my memory that I pretended to say to him that I thought that he was talking about another girl. And well, I moved, and as expected from anyone other than me, I didn't remain in contact with a lot of my class, including Tommy. Life went on as it does. I went through high school and made new friends. Tommy requested me once on Facebook when I was 15. He was using a fake account, which was a little weird, but I didn't think much of it. He sent me photos of himself telling me that he was trying to get into modeling. Not something that I expected from him, but I was supportive nonetheless. In fact, I remember thinking that he was kind of attractive and showed my friends for opinion. Besides that, though, there really was no more conversations with Tommy, and we continued to just live separate lives. That is, until I moved back to my home country. I followed my parents back home after staying behind for 2 years. I was 19, turning 20, and was excited to build life back home. It had been so difficult by myself, and I had no other family in the country, and had just split up with my ex of 4 years. I was doing okay. I had gotten a new job, entered a new relationship, moved into my own place. I was starting to feel established in my life. I had met up with a few old friends from primary school. Nothing too exciting, just more of where they are now type thing. I just loved getting to see who all these kids had grown up to be. That is, until I got a message request from Tommy. It was the same nonsense as before. No profile pic, no friends, nothing on their account, so I messaged back asking how they knew me. Sure enough, he said that we went to primary school together. The conversation started normal, asking how each other were and what was new. Then he asked me, "Whereabouts are you? Do you want to meet up?" Now, there was nothing unusual about these messages, but the vibe that I got just wasn't comfortable. I said that I was busy and would happily organise when things had calmed down. He began to talk about how he wanted to go into working with cybercrime and terrorism, telling me to watch Mr. Robot and how realistic to his job that would be. I got busy and eventually I stopped responding, to which he said, "Are you going to respond or what?" That bristled me a bit, so I replied saying that I didn't appreciate his tone. He apologised and, in the same message, asked where I work and that he would like to see me. My bad vibes picked up again, though. Usually I don't care about telling people where I work, but this time I made sure to be as broad as possible, saying that it's just in a shop in town. It would be cool to catch up when I'm not busy. I'll just have to check with my boyfriend that he's cool with me meeting up. And instantly, he got defensive, asking if my boyfriend was in the country, telling me I'm not property, so I should do what I want. He sent multiple messages how it's beyond him why I would have to check since I'm not even married. I didn't respond to any of it, but the next day, he apologized and said that he was just jealous and depressed. I pointed out that it had been 10 years since I'd seen him, so his jealousy just made no sense. He said that it was my loss if I didn't see him, and I didn't respond. But then it was, "I'm free any time." I didn't respond again. And suddenly, he messaged me saying that he was going to hack my details and sell them on the darknet if I didn't respond to him. It was at this point that I just blocked him. I was rather amused at the entire situation, if I'm being honest, but then I got a message from a random girl, obviously a fake account with no friends or photos, bar the online selfie that looked like it was straight out of Tumblr or something. And the message read, "You blocked me, you dumb cow. You know who this is, and I'll find you." I laughed it off and I didn't respond, but then he started commenting on my profile pictures, calling me a slag and a whore and all of that. Then came the multiple accounts, request after request popping up, all called, "I'll find you." It was at this point too that I was beginning to get pretty freaked out. But for the sake of poor timing though, a silver beat-up car started patrolling my street at night for some weird reason. I live in a complex on the 3rd floor, so it's a shared driveway, and This car would drive into my parking lot, stay for 2 minutes, and then just drive away. It did this routinely for a few days, and I don't know by any means if this is Tommy or not, but the timing was way too close and it really did creep me out. After a while, I didn't see it again, so I assumed that if it was him, he must have given up. Either way, though, every time that he's tried to contact me, I just block him. This was 3 years ago, and I started college down the country. I was 18 and I was on Tinder. I never actually met anyone off of it, but I would always just swipe through guys just to be nosy and see who was on it. I was swiping right on some, and about an hour after, got a message off this guy who, according to his account, was about 20 kilometers away. We made some small talk. It was awkward, and I stopped replying. A day later, I got a friend request off of him on Facebook though. Mind you, I have a common enough name, so it would have taken him ages for him to have found me. We have no mutual friends, and my Tinder photo is on my Facebook page. The only thing that I had on it was the university that I was attending, so maybe that's how he found me, but I don't know. I then quickly got a follow request on Instagram, and he somehow found my Snapchat username as well. I don't have it on my social media, and it's a variation of my full name with extra added in vowels and an underscore. I was freaking out at this point because that was now a lot of information. I messaged him asking how he found out my full name though, and he just replied with, "I think we have a connection. I really want to get to know you better." I unmatched him, deleted my Tinder, and blocked the accounts that he tried to add me on all social media with. And after that, it was quiet. For a few months. I was staying in digs and was knuckling down as I had a lot of assignments from the get-go. This was towards the end of November. I had no assignments due for 2 weeks, so I decided to go out with some friends. One of my friends stayed in student accommodation and the other one was commuting, so she was staying with the other friend. I decided to walk back to my digs as my landlady would probably freak out if I wasn't home that morning, and I really wished that I got a taxi instead. But my walk back was about 15 minutes from the local nightclub that we were at. It was about 3 a.m. at this point. I was at the front door of the house opening up. The door was annoying as it had 2 different locks and had to pull the handle towards myself to help open it up. It's also tough when you're tipsy and trying not to wake up the family that you're staying with. But anyway, as I finally unlock the door, a dark car pulls into the housing estate that I'm staying in. It's quite big and has a big green area in the middle for children or people to play with their dogs. The car comes towards me, so I quickly get inside and I lock the door. The car pulls into the driveway of the house that I'm staying in and just kind of sits there with the full headlights on. I'm there, kind of shaking a bit, too afraid to move from my crouch below the door position as there's frosted glass about halfway up from it. As I get the courage to go upstairs to look out my bedroom window to see who it is, the car pulls out of the driveway and speeds away. A few days later, I get a friend request from the creepy Tinder guy on a new Facebook profile as there were no photos on this account, just the same name. And again, I blocked it. It was finally enough though that it caused me to transfer universities the following year. And thankfully, I haven't heard anything since. I don't know if it was just bad timing or if it was that creep on Tinder that sat in the driveway, but it was petrifying nonetheless. I guess if you can take anything from this, it's be careful who you let in on social media or dating apps, and also what information you may have up. G'day mates, it's Busta here. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you would like to help me out, then please go ahead and watch another video by clicking on a card on the screen. As always guys, thanks for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.